Good morning. My name is Peggy Whitaker, and I am the chair of the GLTC Board of Directors, and I welcome you all this morning. This is such a great turnout, and this is a wonderful, wonderful event for GLTC to have our ribbon cutting of our new operations and maintenance facility, which we sorely needed. So we thank you all for being here. I want to introduce a few dignitaries, and I may have to get you to wave your hand at me, please, when I call your name. This morning we have Chris Feraldi, who is representing Congressman Bob Goodlatte. Chris, where were you? There you are. Thank you for being here. We also have Kelly Johnson from Senator Mark Warner's office. Thank you. And also Isaac from the... Are you still in Roanoke? Isaac, thank you for being here. And from Tim Kaine's office, Senator Tim Kaine's office, we have Alora Martin. Our congressional delegation is a little busy, you may have noticed, so we give them a pass this morning, but we thank the representatives of their offices for being here. We also have a number of people from DRPT. Patrice Strawn, I know, is here. Thank you for being here. We're very excited. We will introduce the director of the DRPT later, Jennifer Mitchell. She is here, and she will be speaking with us shortly. Oh, she's behind me. Thank you. We've had a wonderful group of federal, state, and local partners, and that includes people from our Metropolitan Planning Organization, like Philip Gabathuler, who's here this morning. He's our transportation planner. Well, if you are from the MPO, can you please raise your hand? I've lost track of... That's my car. This is really embarrassing.
Battery will die soon. You got to speak to the cadence.
You know, there's needs to be a little comedy in every. I'm sorry to have to be the one to present it, but anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here, including City Council. Will the members of City Council who are here this morning please stand? Turner, Sterling, Jeff Helgeson
behind you.
Behind me. All right, great. Bert Dodson, yes, our former and former Vice Mayor. Thank you for being here too. We want to thank you all for being here. We had a number of wonderful partners who we will be meeting as the program goes along. And but first, I would like to introduce our speakers as they come to the podium. Brian Booth, who is our new general manager, will be chatting with us first. Brian.
Thank you, Peggy. You've definitely broke the ice for me, so hopefully I can follow up with some sort of entertainment like she had starting with. But I wanted to welcome everyone here this morning and wanted to thank everyone for coming and taking part in this wonderful event for us, this ceremony that we have. This is an exciting time for us in Lynchburg, not only us as GLTC, but also the city as a whole and the Metropolitan Planning Organization, that area as well. I first would like to thank the Federal Transit Administration, the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, as well as City Council and the City of Lynchburg for their support and dedication through this project. If it was not for them, we would not have what we have today, we would not have this great facility, and we would not be here during the ceremony to celebrate. I am now the current general manager. I've been in the role about 3 months, and I came at an interesting time during this project. I moved into the office, the old facility at 1301 Kemper Street, about 30 days before we moved here. So I had the pleasure of packing the general manager's office that had been the office of the general manager for about 35 years. In that time, I found some very interesting documents, and one of the ones that struck me was a document that dated back to 1980, roughly, give or take a few years. And at that time, the city and GLTC was planning to build a new operations and maintenance facility, and were looking for land to acquire for the property and for the facility itself. One plot of land that was found was right up the road on Young Place. And for those that are not familiar with Lynchburg, many of you all drove by it. It's about a mile from here, located off of Mayflower Drive. And in reading through that communication, it was decided that they did not want to pursue that property because it was too far outside of the city's center of activity. I find it ironic that almost 40 years later, where are we at today? We're just down the road from what used to be considered too far out. So I find that a testament to the growth that Lynchburg is experiencing and the exciting growth that we have in the future. As I mentioned earlier, this has been a long time in the coming. This project, it's been planned as early as 1980, but it's also been planned more significantly in the last 10 to 12, 15 years. The initial concept started in the mid-2000s with the then general manager, Mike Carroll, and he oversaw a lot of the initial planning, the site analysis, and the land acquisition, and then was followed up by his predecessor, Karen Walton, who came in 2012, who oversaw a majority of the design and engineering of the facility. Josh Baker, who was the previous general manager and will speak here shortly, he came to the role and company in 2015 and was able to oversee a majority of the construction phase of the facility. And during his tenure here, he was able to make some impactful changes and looking toward the future and putting GLTC and preparing them for the future. And I'll highlight one of those insightful changes that he was able to incorporate in. It was the incorporation of a bus bay that was large enough to handle an articulated bus. Seemed a little wild of an idea maybe at first, and because Lynchburg does not have any of those vehicles that are that large. But looking toward the future, Liberty University has a couple on their campus, so it is very possible that we would be able to acquire one for the GLTC in the future. And I think that, to me, is the most insightful forward-thinking plan and initiative to do, because we just moved from a facility that was too small. The maintenance facility was too small to get our largest 40-foot buses inside, so any work for those buses had to be done in the parking lot. So, one, I want to thank Josh for that, to be thinking that into the future for that. And finally, as I stated earlier, I am the current general manager, and frankly, I think I'm the luckiest one, because I get to enjoy this facility, even though I came in and had 30 days to pack up an old office and move. But it's been a wonderful experience, and really look forward to working out of this facility in the years to come. Again, I'd like to thank FTA, as well as the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, the City of Lynchburg, MB Contractors for their construction, and then Wendell Companies for the design and engineering of this facility. This is a wonderful day. It's a wonderful facility, and we hope that you all will be able to stay after the ribbon cutting and tour the facility. We'll have just a pleasant day. There will be guided tours of the maintenance portion, so we want you to be able to enjoy it and see what we have to work with and have to offer here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We're really lucky to have Brian here, filling very difficult shoes. Josh Baker, who was our previous general manager and really was the person who oversaw the construction of this wonderful facility. Brian mentioned the maintenance facility. Go seek out a tour guide for that, because although it sounds really boring, it is fascinating. It is very high tech, and you'll be very impressed. I made a terrible mistake in that I failed to recognize our board of directors. If those who can, please stand, who are on our board of directors. And also Bonnie Severchek, who wears two hats. She's the manager of the city of Lynchburg, as well as a member of our board. We're very lucky to have her too. Without further ado, I would like to introduce this person we've been talking about a lot, Josh Baker, who just up and left us. I mean, it was terrible. But thank goodness he left us with this beautiful building. Josh, can you please come and say a few words?
Thank you, Peggy. Good morning, everyone. I usually am the one who's long-winded, and I always get a hard time for talking too long. So I actually made notes to speak from, which I don't usually do. I usually just ramble on forever and ever. So you'll have to bear with me, because I don't know how to read from notes when I speak. It's kind of an awkward thing. But I am privileged to be here, and I'm happy to have been invited back to be a part of this special day. It's a real exciting one for everybody here, and I hope you will be able to join us in the excitement. As you look around, I mean, I just want you to kind of, for a moment, you're looking forward here at the facility, but behind you, I also want to point out the staff have laid out sort of a nice display of the vehicles and infrastructure that has also been invested in GLTC, and I'm going to forget to speak about that later, so I'm going to say it now, and that is just to say that GLTC is an organization with a deep-rooted history that you're going to see represented here in the facility and what we've done, but also has a very strong present and a very bright future. And so what you're seeing today is not only representation of what GLTC has been, but what it is moving to be. So I'm excited for that. It is a pleasure and honor to be here. GLTC, as I stated, has a long and decorated history. I joined the organization over 2 years ago, and I was privileged to take the lead of an incredible team of people. They work hard every day on a noble mission to serve the Lynchburg community, and I'm very proud of them and what they do. I also had the privilege to take the lead role in the development of this facility. I cannot, however, take all the credit. It is truly the hard work and long hours and endless dedication of hundreds of individuals over the course of many years that causes the facility to stand as it does today. It is now, and it will always be, a representation of that hard work, from the past to today and into the future, by all of those at GLTC and those who support the organization. It is rare that we recognize what happens behind the scenes to make transit successful, but today we get to do just that. As you tour the great facility, be sure to take time not only to recognize the pride and hard work it represents, but also how it serves to support the daily work of so many people. That's what this is about. The building could not have been possible were it not for the hard work and contributions of so many. Most of them have already been recognized or will be recognized today by others. So I'm going to take some time to note those who stood out to me personally as I worked through the project. And I will say in advance, even though I typed this up, I probably missed people. And it doesn't mean that you're forgotten. It just means that I'm forgetful. So I couldn't remember who it was. But in no particular order, or at least hopefully in the right order. Uh-oh, Peggy's alarm's going off again. I'd like to recognize and thank the current and former GLTC Board of Directors members. This is a truly dedicated group of people that supported the project before me and during my time here and will support it in the future. In particular, Greg Daniels, the former president of the GLTC board, who's now in Chesapeake. I wanted to say Virginia Beach, but that's not right. And our current president, Peggy Whitaker, who is here to support it. In addition to these people and the people on the board, there is a group of people on the facility subcommittees who work to support the project. They included in the past Lee Beaumont from Liberty University, Kimball Payne, former city manager of Lynchburg, Christian DePaul, who is here today with us, and Christos Carroll, who is here. Did I miss anyone? Was there anyone else on that committee? I don't think so. And put you guys on the spot. See, now if I forgot, it's because of you, not because of me, right? Of course, the Lynchburg City Council, and it's really an honor to have folks here to represent this council and to speak. And I know Councilman Helgelson, who was very supportive during my time here and has supported GLTC, is going to speak for a little bit. The staff of DRPT, the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, of course, Patrice Strachan, who really, honestly, is the one who would drive down here in a overnight, first thing in the morning. You didn't drive overnight. You actually, you get up at like 4:30 in the morning and drive here from Richmond, right? For meetings, for board meetings, for whenever we had something crazy going on with the facility, we had to try to figure out, call Patrice, help, so she'd come down. The staff of Federal Transit Administration, I don't know that there's anyone here from FTA. They're a busy group, but they're out of Philadelphia. And this facility is 80%? It's just about 80%. I'm going to look at Neil and Patrice, and they know better than I do. There's a large amount of federal money in this facility, so they really support this infrastructure. Wendell companies, including Phil Muse and Ron Reeks. I don't know, is Phil and Ron here? They're not here. Okay. Chris Robinson, we'll call you representing Wendell. Anyway, Wendell worked hard to design and engineer this facility. Chris, who was the project manager on it, is now with Wendell. The staff of MB Contractors and their subcontractors who built the facility. I know that they are here, so please take a moment to talk with them as you walk around. Circle Design Studios, who came on board to help make the place look great. They helped to make it look as it does today. The team at First Transit, Larry Morris is here. Where is Larry? Larry Morris is a background hero, I would say, in our world. First Transit is the management company of Lynchburg's, of GLTC, and Larry oversees this region and supported me in my role, so I thank him for that. And then last but not least, of course, the staff of GLTC who really worked on this. Now, I would love to list all of the staff members, but I can't. So I'm going to highlight the ones that I think really stood out and had a really direct role in this, but I need everyone to know that all of the staff here chipped in because they really did make this place special, and they do. Steve Overstreet is the GLTC IT manager. His title is IT, but I think we could just call him construction manager at this point, right? Came to every meeting and was a part of every part of the process. John Raymond, assistant general manager. He was also a part of this project in helping to make sure he helped me oversee it. And then when I stepped away and left for a month and there was no one around, John had to step in and help make sure things continued forward. Gary Paris. Where's Gary? There's Gary. Gary is the maintenance manager here at GLTC, and he was involved in this project even before I got here, helping to make sure it was designed right. Millie Martin. Where's Millie? Millie's there in the back. Don't raise your hand, Millie, come on. Millie is the finance manager and is behind-the-scenes hero and stuff like this to make sure the numbers line up and the bills get paid and the dollars work. So we thank her for that. Gloria Berkeley is our human resources manager here. Where's Gloria? She's been with GLT since 1974. So she has seen a lot of change, and she's going to tell you about the history. She can be your history guide today. Alan Roby, who's the operations manager. I don't know where Alan's at. Somewhere. Oh, there he is. Natalie Wilkins. And Natalie, I just want to pause for a minute, really helped to pull this event together. So can we give her a round of applause for making this happen? So thank you for that. Brandon De Aguero is standing in the back here. Brandon works with Natalie and is responsible for all of the artwork that you see in the facility. It's really quite fascinating. I spoke of GLTC's history, and it goes back to the early 1900s. And what's fascinating about this building is we were able to take the vision of incorporating the history into the present and the future. And there are intricate murals and artwork and photography throughout the facility that was done by GLTC staff, by Brandon and the team to bring it together to make it look the way it does. So everything you see here is unique to Lynchburg, which is really special. And then, of course, all of the operations and maintenance staff who really made this move happen. I see many of them standing back there. I won't have time to name all of them, but they're the ones who make the facility work, right? The lifeblood of it. So they're really important, and I really appreciate them. And I just spotted one that I forgot, Clay Behrens. Raise your hand, Clay. Clay was the project, They know who you are. What was your role? Project supervisor of everything.
Manager.
Clay lived here in his mobile home on the premises, never left throughout the duration of the construction. Walked out his door every day into the facility, making sure it was built and built correctly. So, really great person there. So it's thanks to all these people and the many others who contributed that we get to celebrate today the bright and beautiful building behind me, which also represents the bright and beautiful future of GLTC. I encourage all of you to take some time after this ceremony to explore the facility, get a tour, look around. It's a really special place, and it's special because you're here to make it that way. So thank you for being here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Josh. We're certainly glad to have you here today. And I'd like to mention, as you tour through the building, you'll see a lot of wonderful finishing touches, and they really were because of Josh's vision. He really insisted that this be a showplace, which it is, and I think he did a great job. So we're very glad to have had him here during that period. Now I am very pleased to tell you that we have with us Jennifer Mitchell, who is the director of DRPT. As a number of people have said this morning, we wouldn't be standing here today without DRPT, which is the Department of Rail and Public Transit, Transportation. And so we are very thrilled to have Jennifer give us some remarks this morning. Jennifer.
Thank you. This is a really very, very excited to be here, and thank you very much to GLTC, Peggy and the board for inviting me to be here. I know they've been recognized a few times already, but I do also want to point out again Patrice and our new Neil Sherman, who's our recently promoted transit programs manager, who play a really big role at DRPT in making projects like this happen. I'd also like to recognize Shannon Valentine, who's the Lynchburg member of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. For those of you that may not be as familiar with the CTB, this is the board that makes all of the funding decisions about transportation in Virginia. And Shannon is the representative for this district. So she's played a very big role in the funding for transit and rail across the state, but especially in this district. She's been a great advocate for agencies like GLTC, and I do hope that if you have an opportunity, please get a chance to thank her as well for her role in all of this too. So, yeah. I've had the opportunity to speak at a few of these ribbon-cutting events over the past several years that I've been with DRPT. In my previous life, before joining DRPT, I've also had the opportunity to work on a number of major transit projects like this as well. And I really know how difficult it is to get these things done and how many people it takes. This is really a great accomplishment that all of you should be very proud of and really congratulate yourself for. It takes so many people in so many ways over so many years. I know Josh pointed out a lot of the GLTC staff members. But again, I just want to congratulate you on this great accomplishment. And I hope you do get a chance to really celebrate the day that we have with us. And Brian, Josh, also congratulations as well. So DRPT's mission is to give the citizens of Virginia safe and reliable transportation options, and to build facilities that contribute to that goal is of the utmost importance. So the home base of a transit system like this is absolutely critical. A transit system is only as good as its home base. So we were so proud to be able to support this. The old facility, although I don't think I got a chance to see it, from what I understand, was, speaking of a bit of Lynchburg history, about 100 years old and very much in need of repair. So as Lynchburg continues to grow, as transit demand in this region continues to grow, we really need to keep up with the demands for that. And as Brian pointed out as well, continuing to look to the future about what GLTC can do with transit in this region is very important. So DRPT first awarded a grant to GLTC in 2012 to support the purchase of the land where this facility is now located. It is the perfect follow-up to the completion of the transfer center in 2014, which again is another beautiful facility and represents GLTC's focus on customer service and operations. In 2014, DRPT recommended to the CTV that they approve the funding for a multi-year funding agreement for this project for the $23 million. And out of that, federal funds, as was noted before, provided about $13 million. State bond funds provided $7.8 million, and the city of Lynchburg put $2.3 million into this. So this really is indicative of DRPT's ongoing commitment to funding facilities and maintaining the state of good repair of its transit providers across the state. So GLTC's emphasis on proper administrative oversight, quality customer service, and safe and reliable operations and maintenance is clearly demonstrated here in this facility. I mentioned before the state bonds that helped fund this project, and I do want to at least take a moment to touch on what we at DRPT are facing with the bonds that have funded projects like this across the state. Beginning in 2019, so about 2 years from now, these bond funds are actually going to set to begin expiring across the state. We're going to lose about $110 million per year in transit funding, and that's going to provide it'll be a huge impact. It's about 44% of our budget right now will be expiring and going away, and right now there is no plan to replace those funds. So we've been working very closely with a group called the Transit Capital Project Revenue Advisory Board, and this is made up of some state and local officials across the state to look at how we can address this issue. And I do want to recognize Josh Baker again, who's been playing a very important role as a member of that board too. So the findings of that board are going to identify some potential funding mechanisms to help address this. But it's important that everybody here recognize that this is a significant issue for Lynchburg in the future and a significant issue for transit agencies across the state. Because without these funds, we're not going to be able to continue to invest in facilities like this or in some of the vehicles and rolling stock that you see out here today, too. And this is critical because transit really helps provide an economic engine for the state. The state can't function without providing alternatives to driving and traffic, and without transit to help provide accessibility to major activity centers across the state and supporting more efficient patterns of land use. Our population is aging. The elderly and those with disabilities are very reliant on transit. So also transportation is the second highest household cost after housing, and the average cost of a car is beyond the reach of many in our workforce. So without effective and reliable transit, these people can't get to work and contribute to our economy or work their way up the economic ladder. So just last week, CTB approved the statewide 6-year plan, and as part of that, we're also anticipating, we've been supporting the Hopper service, will be the downtown circulator service, which we hope to see operational, I guess, later this summer or early fall. We funded this project out of a new prioritization program called Smart Scale. And Smart Scale is actually, many people think of this as a highway funding program. It actually goes to transit and other rail projects as well. So in this 6-year plan, we're actually funding $168 million worth of transit and rail projects across the state. About $93 million of that is going to rail improvements for Virginia Railway Express, and which is one of the largest smart scale projects we have. But it's funding a number of transit projects, not just like the ones here in Lynchburg, but in Hampton Roads and Roanoke and in other cities as well. So DRPT will continue to fund these types of capacity expansions and state of good repair projects. We're also going to continue to invest in expansion needs across the state. One of the other things we do is we support transportation demand management programs as well. So providing public transportation in Virginia is absolutely critical to our mission. It's not possible without facilities like these that really makes transit accessible, operational, and very safe and effective. So again, thank you again for having me here today. I'd like to congratulate all the people that made this happen, and I look forward to seeing the facility later too. So thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. We're very happy to have you here today. We, as Jennifer mentioned, we have probably 2 facilities which are the NV across the state, and that is our transfer station on Kemper Street and this facility. They are like no other facilities in the state, and so we in Lynchburg should be very proud that we have these 2 facilities with the help of our many transportation champions, including Patrice, and of course, especially because of Shannon Valentine, who is our former delegate, and a member of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. And so she makes sure that Lynchburg gets its fair share and even more. So thank you very much, Shannon, for leading that effort. And now we have two members of City Council with us today who will be giving us some remarks. First, we have Turner Perro, who is not only wears two hats, he is a member of City Council, and he's also chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Turner.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for having me. And don't worry, Councilmember Hegelson, I'm not going to steal any of your thunder, sir. So I'm going to talk about the MPO a little bit and what we do here. And what a beautiful day to be in Lynchburg. I mean, this is just a gorgeous day. This week has been wonderful. It just, driving with the windows down and just enjoying the air. It's just a great time. And obviously, everybody coming out and enjoying the weather today. This is just fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. So my name's Turner Perro, and I'm a 3-term member of Lynchburg City Council and the current chair of the Lynchburg Metropolitan Planning Organization. Our role is to coordinate, as the MPO, as the chair of the MPO, our role is to coordinate transportation plans. That's buses, pedestrians, bicycle, vehicular, aviation, etc., across the metropolitan area. We're represented by the city, by the city, town, and county executives. So Mr. Verchek's on the MPO with us, and those items are from Appomattox County, Town of Appomattox, Town of Amherst, County of Amherst, Campbell County, Bedford County in town, and of course the city of Lynchburg. But what we do is we work together to support each other's projects and coordinating the planning of those transportation projects together. Now, one of the key components, we're a small organization, but without the MPO support, the federal and state money doesn't pass through. You have to have the regional buy-in on the area to pass it up to the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and then that is one of the major funding mechanisms to make this work. Now, example of this is how the GLTC facility, this maintenance facility. As we've heard, federal and state funding made up about 90% of all the monies that went into this. That is fantastic. That's Lynchburg taxpayers for local taxes paid 10 cents on the dollar for this magnificent facility. And that is a tremendous, tremendous thing. It shows you the power of the leverage with federal and state dollars working with local dollars to get a large project done. I want to specifically recognize and thank Senator Warner's office, Senator Kane's office, Congressman Goodlatte's office, and also Senator Newman, Senator Mark Peake, Delegate Byron, and Delegate Garrett for all their effort in getting this done today. This facility is a shining example of what regional cooperation and federal and state funding can combine to do. But looking ahead, unfortunately, I fear this will not be the case. The city currently relies on VDOT revenue sharing to fund its larger transportation projects. The pot of money available is anticipated to be cut in half. I think CDPG, or the Commonwealth Transportation Board, is looking at that in July. So instead of $200 million annually across the state, it's going to be cut to about $100 million annually across the state. And that's one of our largest funding sources for transportation. You combine this action with the full implementation of Smart Scale, and thank you for bringing that up, Jennifer. I certainly appreciate it. Smart Scale. It's really, which is the new way of funding transportation projects. Smart Scale is really great in theory. It's in practice, it really can be challenging for our city. So the way it works is funding is distributed based on a competitive point system: safety, economic development, traffic, other cost. Other areas comprise a matrix to indicate the most viable project for the dollar spent. So then our Commonwealth Transportation Board then funds accordingly. And this sounds like a very good, fair way to do it. But however, in practice, we're only seeing, especially in this area, that the smaller projects are getting funded. So, and also, the normal cooperation that we have at the MPO, where we're all working together, is somewhat replaced by who can best outgain the matrix and see who can have the best scoring projects so their projects get funded. So instead of the regional cooperation that we've been so blessed to have, we're now seeing a little bit of divisiveness. Now, Now, these smaller projects, they're great to have, but for a city of the size of Lynchburg, we can fund the smaller projects ourselves. But what we really need are the big projects, and only the little projects are getting funded. This is an example of one of the big projects, but let me give you another example. The intersection of 501 and 221 is Lynchburg's highest priority for all of transportation in the area right now. This has been endorsed by the NPO, but however, because in this matrix, the project has scored poorly and was not funded last year. It was because, frankly, it was just too big. It's a $24 million project. Remember how much this building cost? Right at $24 million. And the intersection wasn't declared dangerous enough. Now, don't get me wrong, we've got multiple crashes there per week, but they are low speed and that there are no fatalities, which is a great thing. Therefore, it's considered safe. And I just want to take a moment here to thank Commissioner Valentine for your efforts specifically in helping change that definition a little bit so we can recognize that accidents are unsafe, period. And I'd hate to think of fatalities being the sole metric for scoring that. So with the decline of revenue sharing coupled with the smart scale matrix, Lynchburg stands to have a significantly reduced transportation plan and few large projects. So I'm using this opportunity to urge our elected representatives, our CTB members, and VDOT officials to help us fund these large critical projects such as the 501-221 intersection. Now, that being said, thank you for bringing up the hopper. We're very excited to have the hopper here. This has been funded by Smart Scale. That's going to be a downtown circulator bus. And while we're celebrating the opening of this wonderful facility that will reduce GLT operating costs, it's also going to vacate a space in Midtown that we've got a really good ideas how to put to good use. And this is a I can't read my own handwriting. And this will provide the GLTC employees, as you can see when you take a tour, with just truly a state-of-the-art facility. And as some board members point out to me, it's a safe facility compared to the other ones. So that is a tremendous step. All right. We need to be reminded of what we can do with local and state funding working together. Local, state, and federal funding working together to fund these large, wonderful projects. This is a tremendous success. Everybody that's involved with it should be congratulated. We need more of these. We need to do this. We need to work on all our transportation aspects and hope we can construct more like this in the future. So I want to urge our elected officials and state officials to develop ways to equitably fund our smaller localities so that we can fulfill these large infrastructure needs. And just look what good it can do. Thank you all for your time. I very much appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Turner. Before I introduce our last speaker, I would like for all of you very shy GLTC employees, staff, please wave your hand. I know most of you are standing up back in there in the back. As Josh mentioned, this is a very special crew, and we are very grateful to have such a great group of people here at GLTC to serve the needs of this community. Thank you all, and particularly thank Natalie for putting on this event today. It's been great. Thank you so much. And without further ado, I will introduce Jeff Helgelson, who is also a member of City Council, and he represents this ward. Jeff?
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. It's so great to be with you all today. You know, as I look back on what has happened with this, I think, Josh, you'll realize some of the transition that has happened. The board members definitely know the transition. When we think of the transfer center, just a few years ago, that was just opened. That used to be a little box somebody would sit in, a bunch of buses would come in and out of the plaza, to now a fabulous transfer center. Fast forward a couple years, what we have right here. What it is, it takes the leadership, the courage, the dedication for people to demand accountability, to demand answers and making sure things are running smoothly. I'm so thankful for the board. As what was stated here a minute ago, of this $23 million project, only 10% came from the city of Lynchburg. You know, with our maxed out our debt and our borrowing ability, we wouldn't have been able to do this without leadership, strong leadership from the board, strong leadership from management, great partners working together that said, we need to come together to be able to build this. Without it, it wouldn't be done. So I'm so thankful. I'm glad we get to stand up here as city council members and our citizens get the benefit of this. Our employees get the benefit of having a great working environment and able to work on and make sure these buses are running smoothly and safely. Right here for our citizens, even though we only contribute 10%. And so I'm so thankful for all the state delegation, our federal representatives, the board. This is fabulous. Without them, it wouldn't happen. Thank you for all that is being done. And I don't know how, Brian, how you're going to go forward. Every couple of years, a brand new $20-some million building comes in. I think this is going to be probably the end of it, but this is great. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Jeff. We are now going to have the ribbon cutting. So I would like to invite the major players who are responsible for this building to please come up here, and we will cut the ribbon. Our board members, would you please come to the front door? We'll figure out how to do this once we get up here. Shannon, would you join us, please? Patrice?
I'm gonna let you go ahead and open them.
Don't cut it
Don't cut it yet. 3, 2, 1, cut.
Go ahead.
Yes, Duncan Station, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Roby's. Okay. Presentation, yes. Yes. And